Hello, in this video I'm going to continue on with reading comprehension portion of a practice Toefl ITP test. In reading comprehension or RC video number 1, I went over in brief detail passages 1, 2, and 3. In this video I'll go through passages 4 and 5 in greater detail. And so let's start just by reading. Mutualism is a type of symbiosis that occurs when two unlike organisms live together in a state that is mutually beneficial. A lot of words in here that test takers might not know, but they might know some parts of the roots. Mutual means together. Symbiosis, that's a word that a lot of native speakers don't really know very well. So you might have to look past some of these words that you don't know or even know any part of. But bio, you probably know something like biology. So there's something with organisms, right? You go organisms, organ, some sort of animal or plant, some living thing. And then they live together in a state that is mutually beneficial. That's basically what symbiosis is in most people's opinion. But mutualism is just a type of symbiosis, right? So it can exist between two animals, between two plants, or between a plant and an animal, right? Mutualism is unlike the symbiotic state of commensalism. Again, words that native speakers generally don't know unless they're in biological fields. In that commensalism is a one-sided state in which a host gives and guests take, while in mutualism, both partners live on a give-and-take basis. And so this is actually something that most or many native speakers might not know, that mutualism is only a type of symbiosis where both organisms benefit. In fact, symbiosis is commonly understood to mean such a situation, but we have this other type of symbiosis, commensalism, where only one party benefits and the other doesn't necessarily have disadvantages but does not benefit. So remember that we're going to have at least one main idea question. So let's look for that, generally speaking anyway. And look at that. It doesn't seem like there is one. So the TOEFL has made a liar out of me. Generally speaking, you'll have at least one main idea question. How is it organized? None of these implied. None of these seem to be main idea questions. So I'll keep that lesson until the next passage. Next paragraph. In the African wilds, wild is often known to be an adjective, but the wilds would be like the jungle. The zebra and the ostrich enjoy a symbiotic relationship that enhances the ability of each of these large land animals to survive. Both serve as prey for the lion, and neither has the capability alone to withstand an attack from this fierce hunter. Again, some words most test takers will be unfamiliar with or only have a kind of far away or indirect knowledge of. However, when the zebra and the ostrich collaborate and in their defense by alerting each other to possible danger from an approaching predator, the lion is rarely able to capture more than the oldest or feeblest of the herd, right? Okay. So these animals are talking to each other. The ostrich and the zebra, they alert one another through sounds, through motion somehow. And then they travel in groups or herds, and the feeblest are the weakest. So the lions, as we've seen on television, generally only capture or eat the weakest or the smallest or the ones that are injured. The complementary, with an E, meaning they work with each other. Physical strengths and weaknesses of the ostrich and zebra allow them to work in coordination to avoid succumbing to the lion. Again, some words that a lot of test takers are going to be largely unfamiliar with. The ostrich, the largest flightless bird in the world, possesses great speed and keen eyesight. It can see well, that's fast, which enable it to spot, see large predatory animals, things that are going to eat it, long before they're able to position themselves to attack. The zebra, with a running speed equal to that of the ostrich, has excellent hearing, so the ostrich can see and the zebra can both hear and smell, but it can't see very well. When ostriches and zebras intermix for grazing, they're eating the grass, each animal benefits from the ability of the other to detect, to figure out if there is some lion around. If either animal senses danger, both animals are alerted and take off. The running speed that both of these animals possess, they are able to outrun any predator except a cheetah. Okay. How is the information organized? A concept is explained through an extended example. Maybe. A series of chronological events is presented? Not exactly, no. See, two examples are compared and contrasted. Well, there's more than, no, not exactly. It's not like we've got commensalism and mutualism being compared and contrasted. Two opposing theories are explained? No, there's no opposing theory. And so a concept that's mutualism is explained through an extended example. So we've got our concept, mutualism, and the example is the zebra and the ostrich, and then we give a lot of details on that. The word unlike in line 1 is closest in meaning to. Line 1. When two unlike organisms live together. Well, when two dissimilar. Unlike means dissimilar. They are not the same. The word beneficial in line 2, beneficial should be helpful. That is mutually beneficial, helpful. That's just the meaning of the word. And the examples and details support that they are helping each other. What is commensalism in line 3? Well, it says right there in line 3, mutualism is unlike the symbiotic state of commensalism. Now, you should know symbiotic is the adjective for symbiosis, and then the state is just a kind or a type. So the same thing here, type of symbiosis. Mutualism is one type, commensalism is another type. They are different, they're unlike, and so commensalism, one-sided. It's a specific type of mutualistic relationship. No, it's a relationship that's beneficial to both partners. No, that's mutualism. A relationship in which both partners are hurt. No, one is helped. That's beneficial to only one partner. And it says right there in line 4 and 5, a one-sided state where the host gives and the guest takes. 35, which is implied in the passage about the zebra and ostrich. They have a commensalist relationship? No, that's in fact going to require you to understand what mutualism is, how that's different from commensalism, and that because they enjoy a symbiotic relationship that enhances the ability to survive for both of them, that it's mutualistic. The lion is prey. No, they are prey. Prey is the thing that's eaten. The lion is the predator. They share a mutualistic relationship. That is correct. And the relationship is not symbiotic. That's clearly false by line 6 there. Number 36, what is stated in the passage about the lion? It's easily able to capture zebras and ostriches. No, that's not a main idea. It is usually able to catch only weaker zebras and ostriches. That's true. It never hunts zebras and ostriches. Not exactly, no. It does not hurt old or feeble zebras and ostriches. No, not exactly. It's only able to catch weaker zebras and ostriches. Number 37, the word collaborate in line 9 is closest in meaning to, should be work together, and that's just what collaborate means. Line 9, when the zebra and the ostrich collaborate in their defense by alerting. So collaborate is a vocab word. They make observations, that they do, but collaborate means work together. Make a stand, no, they don't do that. Run and hide, not exactly. But when they collaborate together in their defense by alerting each other to possible danger from an approaching predator. So B is definitely related, but collaborate means to work together. Do they make observations in their defense by alert? Well, they're not making observations by alerting each other, right? They're alerting each other. It comes from the observations, but that's an effect. That's not an input, right? They are working together, and an input or something that results, at least. from that is alerting each other. So again, collaborate means work together. That's the best answer. Pronoun it in line 13 refers to pronoun usage. These should be fairly easy. The ostrich, the largest flightless bird in the world, possesses great speed, which enable it. It is the ostrich, the subject here. Second time just for cohesion, referring to it with the pronoun. 39, which of the following is not stated in the passage? The flightless bird, that was what I just read. The ostrich is able to see better than the zebra. I remember that. The zebra hears and smells well. I remember that. The zebra is able to run faster than the ostrich. I don't remember that. What I remember is that they run at the same speed. Let's look for it. The zebra with a running speed equal to that of the ostrich, so it doesn't run faster, it runs at the same speed. Number 40, where in the passage does the author mention the one animal that is faster than both the ostrich and the zebra? Right there at the end, the cheetah. So 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, except the cheetah, lines 18 and 19. All right, on to the next passage. The topic of the passage, there we go. So the topic is going to be found, we've got 5 paragraphs, 6 paragraphs. Let's read the topic sentence of each paragraph. And by that alone, we should be able to figure out what the topic is, or the main idea, or what the author is mainly concerned about, or the subject, or even what the title would be. Esperanto is what is called a planned or artificial language. In Zamenhof's first attempt at a universal language, he tried to create a language that was as uncomplicated as possible. Next, Zamenhof tried a different way of constructing a simplified language. In 1887, Zamenhof wrote a description of his language and published it. In 1905, the First World Congress of Esperanto took place in France with approximately 700 attendees from 20 different countries. Esperanto has had its ups and downs in the period since World War I. All right, so a language developed in the last few years? No. One man's efforts to create a universal language? That certainly makes sense. How language can be improved? No, it's just about one language and something he made up. Using language to communicate internationally? Well, that's definitely what Esperanto is, but I think we started off 3 of these, Zamenhof, Zamenhof, Zamenhof. I think it's probably one man's efforts. Now let's read. Esperanto is what's called a planned language or artificial language. It was created more than a century ago by Polish eye doctor Ludwig Lazar Zamenhof. Zamenhof believed that a common language would help alleviate some of the misunderstandings among cultures. So not even internationally so much as across cultures, because many times within one country there are multiple languages. In Zamenhof's first attempt at a universal language, he tried to create a language that was as uncomplicated as possible. The first language included words such as ab, ak, ba, eb, b, and c, if I'm pronouncing those correctly. This did not result in a workable language in that these monosyllabic words, mono means one, syllable is like the parts of the word where we make a vowel and a consonant, and basically every time we open with a new vowel, close with a consonant, becomes a syllable. Though short, were not easy to understand or retain. Next, Zamenhof tried a different way of constructing a simplified language. He made words in his language sound like words that people already know, but he simplified the grammar tremendously, quite a lot. Tremendously. We've heard this word from a very famous politician in recent years. We should be familiar with that. One example of how he simplified the language can be seen in the suffixes. The suffixes are the last parts of the word. All nouns in this language end with O, as in the noun amico, which means friend, and all adjectives end in A, as in the adjective bella, which means pretty. Another example of the simplified language can be seen in the prefix mal, which makes a word opposite in meaning. The word malamico therefore refers to an enemy, a not friend. Okay? And the word malbella therefore means ugly in Zamenhof's language. Although in English we are slightly more complicated, not friend would not necessarily mean enemy, and not pretty wouldn't necessarily mean ugly. But anyway, Let's stick to the passage. In 1887, Zamenhof wrote a description of this language and published it. He used a pen name. A pen name is not his real name, otherwise known as a pseudonym. It's a name he used for fictional purposes, Dr. Esperanto. It's not his real name when signing his book. He selected the name Esperanto, so it's his pen name, he selected it, because this word means a person who hopes in his language. Esperanto clubs began popping up through Europe, and by 1905, Esperanto had spread from Europe to America and Asia. In 1905, the First World Congress of Esperanto took place in France with approximately 700 attendees from 20 different countries. Not very popular, but pretty good for somebody who just wanted to make a language. Congresses were held annually for 9 years, and 4,000 attendees were registered for the 10th World Esperanto Congress, scheduled for 1914, when World War I erupted, began, and forced its cancellation. So here's where his dream is largely ending. Esperanto has had its ups and downs in the world in the period since World War I. Today, years after it was introduced, it is estimated that perhaps 250,000 people are still fluent in it. So it's not too bad. This may seem like a large number, but it's really quite small compared to the billion English speakers and more than 1 billion Mandarin Chinese speakers in the world today. Current advocates, people who support something, would like to see its use grow considerably and are taking steps to make this happen. We didn't really hear anything about communicating across countries so much as across cultures. So one man's effort must be the main topic. According to the passage, Zamenhof wanted to create a universal language to resolve cultural differences. Right there in the topic sentence, the first paragraph. Oops. Misunderstandings among cultures. Differences, misunderstandings, to provide a more complex, no, the opposite. He wanted a simplified one. To build a name for himself, no, he sounded like he wanted to do something for others. To create one world culture, not so much, but he wanted to reduce the misunderstandings between the many cultures. It can be inferred that from the passage that the Esperanto word malespera malespera means without something, so it's either hopeless or hopelessness. Oh wow, this is a tough one. Okay, so all adjectives end in A, all nouns end in O. So if it's malespera, then it must be hopeless, the adjective. Wow, that's a tough one. It means not. We don't know what esper is. Well, I suppose we do, because a person who hopes, esperanto, esper must mean hope then. Well, that's a really tough one. The ending A means it's an adjective. It means not, so it's not hopeful. It's hopeless. Okay. 44, the expression popping up in line 17. He selected the name because it means one who hopes. Esperanto clubs began popping up. Yeah, that's not literal. They didn't literally pop up. They began opening, though. They began to be seen, to exist, to open. Can be inferred from the passage that the Third World Congress of Esperanto took place, and the Third World Congress was, well, if the 10th World Congress was in 1914, the first was in 1905, that means the third must have been in 1905, 6, 1907. 46, according to the passage, what happened to the 10th World Congress? It got canceled. It had 4,000 attendees. It was scheduled, 4,000 attendees were scheduled, but it got canceled in 1914. It never took place, it got canceled. It had them scheduled, but they didn't attend because it was actually canceled. The expression ups and downs, again, figurative. Nothing's literally going up or down, but it means highs and lows, which is, again, figurative. Good points and bad points, pluses and minuses. It had its successes and failures, highs and lows. Floors and ceilings, that's pretty close. Tops and bottoms, also pretty close. Takeoffs and landings, also pretty close. But highs and lows in English is generally what we would use in place of ups and downs. 48, which paragraph describes the predecessor to Esperanto? Well, that's his first language. Predecessor, pre means before. Predecessor is the first language he tried, so it's paragraph 2. The passage would most likely be assigned to a course in linguistics. Linguistics is the study of language. It's not about grammar or English grammar. It's not about government. It's not really about European history. It's about linguistics, the study of language. And finally, the paragraph following the passage most likely discussed. Oh, so if there were another paragraph, let's read what the last paragraph said. Current advocates would like to see it grow, and they are taking steps to try to make it happen. And so what are they doing then? Attempts to reconvene, yeah, that makes sense, but current advocates, not in the 1920s. The disadvantages of using an artificial language, no. Another Zamenhof's count, no. Yeah, how are advocates out there encouraging its growth? And so our main question types, again, are main idea or topic or subject or title, and then specific line items. What does this word mean? What's the closest meaning to this word? 43 is a real anomaly in all of these, that we had to dig through details of linguistic nature, so that one's really quite tough. Stated detail, according to the passage, he wanted to create. Unstated detail, which didn't happen. And of course, if we have a stated detail question, then all of the other 3 wrong answers are unstated detail, or what is not stated. This one, predict what the next paragraph will be. That's frequently in there. And this is stated detail. What relevance does it have? This is a type of question that you would hear also on a listening exam for the TOEFL, where you listen to a conversation and then they'll ask what's the context or where would this take place. So all the question types are fairly standardized, and you'll see them in most all of the passages. But dealing with these types of words that are unfamiliar might be one of the main obstacles. And so looking past the words that you don't know is really quite important, and then trying to look further on in the sentence where you might be able to still achieve the same result as far as understanding the meaning of the sentence and concept without understanding specific words. Right? And so when you're looking for main ideas, look for the topic sentences. And then it might be best, depending on the test taker, to read through the entire paragraph like I did in these 2 examples, or to go directly to the question and then try to look back up through the paragraphs like I did in the previous video. That's going to change from test taker to test taker. And so really there's a lot of vocabulary and grammar and comprehension. This is in fact reading comprehension. So there's no substitute for practice and for getting into dictionary and flashcards and trying to understand what the words mean, because if one doesn't understand most of the words, then there's very little chance that one will be able to correctly choose the answers, especially in the time given. All right, so practice, and I'll continue on with more of these tutorials in future videos. Thank you.